Andre Drummond, fantastic player when he was in Detroit. Unfortunately, he played a role he wasn't suited for, and that was franchise player. He did not have the skills. I remember watching him playing thinking, all right, this guy has a ton of talent, but he's still missing something to be the number one, the franchise guy for the Detroit Pistons. Like, this guy needs to do something offensively, not even offensively. That's not even what I was thinking at the time. I used to think, like, if this guy could figure it out defensively and be a true anchor on that side of the ball, combined with his rebounding, he'd be a great player. We'd have a truly special player, but he never did that. He did get some good blocks, and I think he's the last player to have over 100 blocks and 100 steals and 1,000 rebounds in one season. That's great. It just didn't translate to a lot of wins. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't even think he's close to being a Hall of Famer. But what about you, Anthony?
So when I heard him talk about this, because there was some context, I don't think I had the video downloaded or anything, but he was basically saying that he's the best rebounder of all time.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. I don't. I don't even think he's the best Pistons rebounder of all time. I think that title belongs to Dennis Rodman. Even though he has a higher... Ben Wallace, too. Even though he has a higher rebound percentage in terms of the rebounds he's grabbed, people don't talk about in his Detroit days. I bet you at least 5% of those rebounds he grabbed were from his own misses.
Yeah.
He's a great rebounder, don't get me wrong, but to say you're the best rebounder of all time, that's where I kind of have a problem with it. I don't think he's the best rebounder of all time. I think he's top 5. I'll give him that. But I think Dennis Rodman was a better rebounder, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude, Dennis Rodman, Moses Malone. I'm not even going to say Wilt Chamberlain just because I want to talk about just players that were in more of a modern era. I mean, I even think a guy like Reggie Evans, who was undrafted out of Iowa, he was an incredible rebounder for being only 6'8". I think he had like a 10 couple. He wasn't even a starter. He was a minimal player, playing like 23 minutes a game, grabbing like 10 boards a game for a couple seasons or right around there. Like Andre Drummond, fantastic. I do not think he is the greatest in any one category. I think he was a phenomenal rebounder. I agree with you. I think a good percentage of his rebounds were just him collecting his own misses because he was right at the rim. He is a good offensive rebounder, though. I'll give him that. Like, I mean, if you wanted to put him up there and say, like, he's like one of the top 3 offensive rebounders of all time, I'd be like, yeah, dude, I mean, there's something to be said about being able to go up there and grab your own miss. There's something to be said about that. That's a real skill.
Yeah.
But overall, like Dennis Rodman, Ben Wallace, Moses Malone, I mean, I know I'm kind of joking saying Reggie Evans, but he was a damn good rebounder. So was Paul Millsap. He was a damn good rebounder. He was just undersized and started playing on the perimeter a little too much. I don't know. There's some guys that have real nose for the ball. And I'm not saying Andre Drummond didn't, but I just remember him, like you're saying, collecting a lot of his own misses and really kind of disrupting plays and defensive assignments just to go get a rebound, which is cool to have a nose for it. But I don't know. I just felt like his rebounding was stat padding to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a story of Reggie Jackson when he was here saying that he went to grab a rebound and Drummond punched him in the face at practice for grabbing a rebound. Like, crazy. Yeah, he's just like, I'll rebound the ball. Like, don't worry about it. I think he's a great rebounder, and I did enjoy his time here in Detroit. I just thought the way they used him didn't make a whole lot of sense being like that, the Dwight Howard light, because that wasn't his game. I don't think he'll get into the Hall of Fame just based off of his rebounding numbers. And if he were to go into the Hall of Fame, it would probably be as a member of the Detroit Pistons. And if you look at the centers that have played for this franchise, you have a lot of centers that, in my opinion, I think would be ahead of him. And that's why I don't think he'll get a Hall of Fame nod. Like, you have Dennis Rodman, who's in the Hall. Ben Wallace, most recently, is in the Hall. I want to say, is Bill Lanier in the Hall?
No, he's not. Oh, Bill Lanier? Bill Laimbeer?
Bob Lanier.
Lanier is in the Hall of Fame, but Bill Laimbeer is not.
Yeah, Bob Lanier. I mean, like, those are 3 all-time great centers. I don't know why I called him Bill Lanier. Bob Lanier. My apologies that I messed that up. But so I just can't see him making the Hall as a member of the Detroit Pistons because ever since he's been traded, he's been a journeyman. Like, he hasn't
Yep.
really been on a team for that long.
It's his resume, though. He has 2 All-Star appearances, 1 All-NBA. I think 3rd team is what he made. He has 4 rebounding titles, but that's not enough. Like, he hasn't won a championship. He wasn't a Defensive Player of the Year award winner. He's just a good rebounder. That's it. He's not a franchise player. And he's not even like a franchise role player, which you would think that he would change his game just slightly to last longer on these teams, like the Chicago Bulls, like the Cleveland Cavaliers, to name a couple. And he just hasn't done it, man. Like, or even the Lakers, like they need a big, him and Anthony Davis together. Like, you would not be able to rebound against that team if he could just figure it out. Andre Drummond, I don't even know if he has Hall of Fame talent, but he had a Hall of Fame flashes when he played for Detroit, but he's not a Hall of Fame player.
I think what Aaron S. just said just kind of validates what we were saying. And he said, is Joe Harris a Hall of Famer for having one of the best 3-point percentages of all time? Of course not.
Yep.
It's a good player. Like, we're not slandering Andre Drummond by any means on this podcast. Great player, but you're not going to get in the Hall for just rebounding the basketball. You're just not. I mean, you look at some of the bigs that have been inducted into the Hall. They had an all-around game, whether they were protecting the rim, winning Defensive Player of the Years, or they had a two-way game. And Drummond just is a great rebounder.
I think you could make the Hall of Fame as just a great rebounder, but it would have to contribute to winning and overall team success. And that's not something he did. Like, if Andre Drummond could get a rebound and just make a great outlet pass to like Reggie Jackson or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope streaking down the floor, we'd be like, damn, like his rebounding, it really turns some games, because you can have 2 guys leak out and start running down the floor. That's how good of a rebounder he is. And as soon as he does it, he looks up and eyes down the floor, and he's just looking to kick, throw it out, make a great outlet pass. And you just didn't get that from Andre Drummond. It was just, he was a stat stuffer on bad teams. That's all he was. And I don't know.
I won't say stat stuffer, but I just remember vividly of, he'd be like George Blaha and Greg Kelser. Andre Drummond's got 10 rebounds in the first quarter, and like there are highlights of him
25.
like getting like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds off of like a tip in that he like hooked, a hook shot that he missed. I was just like, dude, like, come on, stop.
Yeah, he will be remembered. I think people will look back at his stats and say, damn, how is he only a 2-time All-Star, especially with his time in Detroit. But then if you like go deeper into the rabbit hole and you watch those games, you'll be like, okay, now I understand why he wasn't a more than a 2-time All-Star. But Andre Drummond, we loved you in Detroit. You're just not a Hall of Famer. You will be, as long as me and Anthony are alive, people will remember Andre Drummond.
Oh, there's a huge Drummond flock out there. I don't think they need us.